Welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the grayscale trusts and how LTCN, BCHG, and HZEN are just absolutely ripping to the moon right now. With that being said, let's get it. So the first one that we're going to take a look at is LTCN. So LTCN has had a pretty sizable move up today. Actually, before we get into the charts, let's show you our positions first, because there's a time thing where it might kick us out if we don't do something for too long. So as you guys can see, we are still in LTCN and BCHG. We're still in the money, of course, not as much as we were earlier this morning, but it seemed like there was kind of a sell-off towards the afternoon. So not sure what that was. Maybe day traders or something trading the stock. I have no idea. Doesn't matter. We're holding this for the bull run. So you guys can see we're up quite a bit. We're about $3.50 in the money on LTCN and roughly about 70 cents a share in the money on BCHG. So total unrealized gains here that we could take off the table whenever we want. Cash is still the same. Nothing's changed there. Now you guys notice this $130 that's pending here. So we're going to show you that in a minute. So we did actually buy $500 worth of HZEN this morning. We had no idea that when we told you guys that HZEN was breaking out, that it was going to double in price. We had no idea. If we would have known that, we would have dropped the $5,000 in immediately. But you really just never know how these markets are going to act. So take a look at here. You guys can see that this is obviously today. So we bought HZEN. 159 shares is equal to about $500 at an average price of $3.12. It had already gone up about 50% from that point. We said, okay, fine, let's just go ahead and get in, see what happens maybe over the next week or two. And then this happened where it went up to almost $4. And so we decided to get out and sell immediately for a profit, which we walked away with about $130, as you guys can see. This trade only took place over about an hour. We were not really anticipating offloading these shares, truthfully, but the price of HZEN went up so aggressively that we were kind of like, okay, this thing looks like a blow off top. Let's just take the money out. If we get a pullback, we'll get back in, because that looks just a little too aggressive, a little too parabolic to be self-sustaining. So we took the money out, and I think it took about an hour to cover this trade. Should be roughly about an hour, so it's not showing it here for some reason, but yeah, the time was roughly about an hour, so maybe we can see it here. I'm not sure. So here it is. So 11:15 a.m. was when we bought in. We were actually day trading during that time frame on the Russell, and then we got out roughly about an hour later, as you guys can see, on the same day. So about $130 I'm profit on that position. So that's the reason for the pending amount over here. So another $130 in the bank that once it settles will be obviously over $6,000 in cash. And then if we get some seriously large pullbacks on LTCN, BCHG, and HZEN, or perhaps even other grayscale trusts, we'll go ahead and start dropping some, loading the boat, so to speak, on those. So, okay, LTCN, as you guys can see here, we do need to keep the NASDAQ chart up here because we are trading this currently. So I hope you guys don't mind. But you guys can see there was a wick rejection off of this kind of a similar area to these wicks up here. Not really sure how this one's going to play out yet. I mean, the wick to the upside is longer than the wick to the downside, which indicates there is potential for more selling pressure than there is more buying pressure, but the week is not closed yet, so we still have 2 days. We'll have to keep you guys up to date on this, but ideally for this thing to move higher on LTCN on the weekly, we need to see a close above 1620. So a full body candle close, at least even just a little bit above 1620, I would say would put it more in the favor of the bulls. So we're still above the EMAs. I would still say that the ideal price points to buy here would probably be somewhere between $6.80 a share to roughly about $10 or so a share. Obviously, resistance as of right now is 13.20 to 15. And then the higher resistance, if we can manage to get above these candles here, would be between $22.60 to about $27. So now if we go down here on the daily time frame, you guys can see that it's more obvious that we are selling. So the bears were probably just sitting up here like, yeah, we're waiting for you guys to get up here so we can dump on your heads. That's exactly pretty much more or less what happened, because as you guys can see on the daily candle here, it went up to all the way roughly about to $17, but then obviously we closed much lower here at 15. So it would have been good if we closed up here at 17, but that has not happened yet. So we will just have to keep an eye out for that. So now we'll go down here and take a look at the next one. So I'll cover HZEN in a minute. You guys will see why we sold out pretty quickly. Normally we don't do that, but this time we did. So HZEN, very similar, although the wick to the upside is not as obvious. So I'd say that BCHG is still very bullish. In order for this thing to really move up, I would say we need to close above $4.63. If we get that, then ideally it would move up. Your buy zones, I would say, are roughly about $2.50 a share to I'm going to be a little bit more generous here and say probably $3.75 a share. So $2.50 to $3.75. We're currently in resistance, which is between $3.80 to $4.15. If we get that candle close above, your next potential sell zone would be $5.40 to roughly about $5.80 a share. So everything still looks bullish on the MACD. RSI, nothing's changed. We're not really overbought, which means there is room to run up. Okay, so HZEN, this is just probably one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen pre-bull market. So you can see the RSI has just moved up massively. You can see this volume is just huge. Look at this volume, 417,000 shares traded on the day. It's actually bigger than this candle right here. In fact, if we go back here, you guys can see that we had the last time we had a candle that was this big in terms of weekly trading volume was all the way back in January of 2022, which was roughly about 2 months after the bull market peak. So that is a huge amount of volume and a massive move. Let's actually go ahead and measure this on the weekly. So from the bottom to the top of this move, you guys can see why we sold out. 150% in 1 week. Usually when a cryptocurrency has a move that big in that a short amount of time, there's usually a massive pullback that comes afterwards. Could be wrong about this. Maybe this is different, but that's generally been our experience. So you guys can see why we took profit. We were kind of like, when we showed you guys this on X, it was like right in this area. And we're like, okay, yeah, it's going to poke its head above and then slowly move up, right? It's not going to get this aggressive move. And we woke up this morning and it was at like $3 and some change per share. And we're like, okay, what the hell, dude? What just happened? What is this? So my guess is this is probably a short squeeze and maybe some other institutional buyers trying to get into this. I'm not really sure, but it was a massive move, so much so that it basically convinced us to take profit. If we look at the daily chart, you can see it's just as ridiculous. So you see all these little candles down here. You see how they're like kind of normal looking. And then you get this one, and then you get this thing. I mean, look at this monster. Absolute beast, dude. It just shredded straight through that resistance right here like it was absolutely nothing. Like it wasn't even there. It's just crazy. So it's currently getting rejected off of this higher support zone, which you guys can see was a swing high before. So that's something to keep a lookout for. I would say the current resistance is up here between 380 to 417. Again, 2 days to wait and see how this plays out. But if I had to guess, I would say this thing's going to pull back in the next couple of days. I would be surprised if it does not. But either way, we made money, so not too concerned about it. So I'm just going to play it ultra conservative here and say that the support's going to be between 137 to maybe as the absolute highest 250 a share, because there probably is going to be a pullback in by the end of this week or maybe next week. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. But I would say that would probably be the ideal places to get in. And then obviously we showed you the resistance as well. And do keep in mind the green shade on the RSI is showing. We know what happened last time that this showed on LTCN and BCHG. There was a pullback. So keep that in mind. So GXLM, nothing's really changed here. Still in no man's land, not high up, but not low down. I would say, me personally, I'd be waiting to buy probably somewhere between 410 to maybe at the most roughly about $20.60 a share, because you can see there's a lot of trading activity in that zone. But I would not be buying up here at the top. So the resistance is going to be all the way between 53 to 58 per share. And that would be a pretty large move. I mean, just from where it's at right now, you're talking roughly a 2x. So if you manage to pick it up at about $20 a share and it got up there, I mean, almost a 3x. And that's if you don't even get it down here in the support zone. So ETH, this one's moving up. As you guys can see, Bitcoin and Ethereum are moving up massively, so it's not really a surprise this one's moving up. So it does appear that it's had a breakout here above these candle highs. Whether it closes above or not, that remains to be seen. If I was going to buy this, I'd buy it somewhere between $14.60 to about the support zone, so somewhere in the $17 to $18 range. Your resistance is between $25.50 and $28.80. Macro support still down just under $5 to $2. Do I think it's going to go back down that far? Probably not. The only thing I can think of that would make that happen is the uninversion of the yields, the Fed cutting, and then the stock market itself having like a 30-40% dump. That would probably cause it to go back down to those zones. But as of right now, I would say the answer is probably no. So here's the ETH Classic. Now, if we take a look at the Ethereum prices or ETH Classic prices, you can see ETH Classic is moving up with Ethereum. That's actually quite normal because, like we told you before, ETH Classic is an oscillator to Ethereum. It will go up if Ethereum goes up. So this could be potentially heading back into resistance. If we were going to buy, we'd probably buy roughly about somewhere around these wicks. So I would say probably just at this EMA. The EMA is slightly above the wicks, so about $9 a share to roughly about $10.50. And then your resistance is obviously $13.20 to $15.80. If you manage to get it about $10 a share, you'd be looking at roughly about at least a 50% gain in the immediate short term. So Zcash is moving up quite a bit. That's actually surprising that it is doing something, because as you guys can see, for a while it's done pretty much nothing. So would we be buying this one? For the immediate short term, the answer is probably no. But for the long term, for the bull run, probably yes. Because as you guys can see, it has the potential to go up at least a 10, 11, maybe 12, 13x from here. That does not include if it hits price discovery. There also, if you guys can see it here, there was another bull cross on the MACD and the RSI, so that's good. So support is probably somewhere between $150 a share to, I would say, about these candle lows, roughly about $2. And then your resistance is going to be between $2.70 to $4. If you manage to pick it up down here at $2, you could be roughly about a 2x. Okay, so GSOL, we thought this one wasn't going to go any higher. Obviously, we were very wrong about that. That does happen. Obviously, trading is not perfect. Can't be right 100% of the time. But again, we would not touch this one with a 10-foot pole because it is at all-time highs. And when it's in price discovery mode, it's very hard to predict when a pullback is going to come. We like the odds to be stacked in our favor. It's not really stacked in a trader's favor at these zones, at least not on the weekly time frame. So I would say if we were going to buy this thing, we wait for it to pull back down to somewhere between 80 to maybe around 125 a share. But as of right now, I would say it's probably a little expensive. I would say a pullback is probably due. I mean, you can see the price is massively overextended from the EMAs here. Doesn't mean it's not a buy. I mean, it could go up to $1,000. We personally would not want to buy it at these levels. So Mana's looking a little expensive. I would say something like Zcash or even LTCN is a better buy, in my opinion. So the resistance is between 1720 to still 2040. The resistance above that is non-existent because we haven't gone up there yet. So this thing could actually print new highs in the bull run. We'll just have to wait and see. But I would say support is probably going to be immediately between 960 to about 1250 a share. So you could be potentially looking at, if you get it in between those EMAs, a little bit more than a 2x in the immediate short term. GBAT, this thing is, I could be wrong about this, but it looks like it's potentially heading for a possible bullish breakout here. So if it gets above this trend line, obviously it's sitting as support and on the EMAs. This is a perfect breakout setup in my opinion. Kind of similar to this one here, as you guys can see here. Also very similar thing, although there was, I suppose this is like a support zone, but yeah, it hit the EMAs, had kind of this move down below this trend line, and then a massive pop to the upside. So, take your risk if that's what you want to do. There's a possibility there could be a breakout here, but me personally, I'd probably go 50-50 on this one, put 50% in and then hold 50% on the side in case it dumps. But yeah, there might be a breakout here, so we'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, if I was going to buy, I'd buy between 370 to about, I'd say about 510 a share. Obviously, your peak is up here at 950, so if you get it in between these EMAs, that's about a 2x. And as of right now, we don't have any resistance. I would say it's basically just that $10 mark is probably going to be your resistance. Link, again, wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. It's massively overextended. I would rather buy Chainlink itself than buy this because Chainlink is not at all-time highs. This one is. But support is sitting between 33 to, I would say about $49 a share would probably be a good price point. And of course, the support's right in between that. So if you manage to get it in there and hold it up to this high here, you'd be looking at more than a 2x. Okay, so Phil G, it did make a newer high here, but again, this thing is massively overextended from the EMAs. At some point, it's going to pull back. That's going to happen. When it's going to happen, I don't know. But if I was going to buy, I'd buy somewhere between $37 to about $48 a share. And obviously, if you got it at those prices held up here, you'd be taking a look at almost a 3x. And GLIV, so this one kind of bounced off support here. I'd say that's pretty bullish. It's back above the EMAs. But if I was going to buy this, I would not start buying until at least $12.20 a share. Because again, if you buy at current prices, you're not even going to get a 2x. If you buy down here, you're going to get more than a 2x. And that does not include if it goes to all-time highs. So anyways, this is the grayscale trusts, with our main focus being on LTCN BCHG and HZEN. Hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.